What's going on out there, YouTube? This is SCL0320 representing JVS. So I am here to do a movie review for you guys. This will be a non-spoiler review. I just got out of the advanced screening for the movie American Assassin. This is starring Michael Keaton, Dylan O'Brien, Sanaa Lathan, and Taylor Kitsch. Taylor Kitsch, he was one that was in True Detective Season 2. He also was in the X-Men Origin as Gambit. Dylan O'Brien starred in The Maze Runner, of course, Teen Wolf, and then Michael Keaton is the freaking man, and he was the original OG 1989 Batman. And one of the things about this film that from the trailers, it looked really impactful. It looked like, you know, this could be the next spy thriller. I knew it was taken from, you know, this book series I had no knowledge about, and I just want to let you guys know I have no knowledge about what the book series is about. I know it's kind of comparable to like the Tom Clancy kind of spy thriller or Jack Reacher in a sense. And I think that from the visual standpoint, the way they were able to do a lot of the takes as far as the cinematography, from the fight sequences to the trainings to the scope, I think they put a lot of emphasis on it. There was like this really big set moment towards the end. There was a lot of heavy CG, and I think they handled it really well. I've seen some other movies that kind of like made it more of like a D or C kind of CG level. I think they did a really good job for what they did with it. But I think that the fight choreography, specifically with Dylan O'Brien and Michael Keaton, I think they did a really good job with it. I think that some moments where I was kind of like, they kind of rushed like the process from the edit. Like it would go from one point and then it would stop and then it would go and try to progress to the next scene. I think some moments like that kind of get lost in translation. The other thing about this film is it doesn't have necessarily a score to it. There are a lot of moments where you'll have like Dylan O'Brien like having these somber moments, and I'll talk more about his character in a little bit, because his character goes through some traumatic things very early in the film, and I think that was filmed very well. I think that was the best pitch to platform the movie moving forward, because we rallied behind like, okay, I understand why he's doing some of these actions. But even in a moment like that, there was no like music. It was just like dead silence. And then there was a torture scene that happened maybe midway during the movie, and it was just dead silence. And I was sitting there thinking like, man, if I crunch some popcorn in this movie theater, like everybody's gonna hear it. But I think it was really effective for this. Like I didn't want this kind of cliche score or this kind of random like music just playing in the background. That's no, you know, shade to Atomic Blonde, because I think it worked for some movie like Atomic Blonde or Baby Driver. But in this movie, this is very filmed a little bit differently. Now let's go on the performances. So Dylan O'Brien, if you don't know, he had a major accident coming into or going out of the beginning phases for the next Maze Runner film, maybe like 2 years ago, and he got ran over and he almost died. And I actually, ever since that happened, I've been following him. Like, cause I personally felt like he was a really funny and intriguing actor. I felt like he had the emotional appeal, and I thought he had enough character depth that he could, you know, be like even Spider-Man if he really wanted to. Like a lot of moments I was sitting there watching this, I was like, he could have easily been Spider-Man. But like watching the film and seeing like his transformation, you know, like the beard really long, like physically, like he is definitely bigger. He looks like he legit is trained, and he engulfed himself into this role. Like you felt like his emotional anguish. You felt like this dude like took time to really understand who his real enemy is, and at the same time is a tortured person. Like, I mean, from the very beginning, like I saw like this kind of like this twitch that if you look closely, I think that this is like character acting in my personal opinion. When somebody was kind of like probing him, asking him questions, or Michael Keaton's getting up in his face, like you can see that twitch going off. And ever since the issue that happened in the beginning that happened to him, you see that throughout the course of the film. But he's a very interesting hero, and I actually do like what they did with his character more than anything. But Michael Keaton is definitely the second part of that. He plays the role of Stan Hurley, who is the trainer of these special operatives or assassins, as they were. And he's got an interesting past. Like, as much as, you know, he was kind of probing and getting on, you know, Dylan O'Brien's character, like you can definitely see he's got a lot of meat and richness to it. And there's a couple moments that Michael Keaton, he does like a breakaway performance. Like I think there was this interrogation moment where he had with Dylan O'Brien and another one with Taylor Kitsch. and like he just stole the show. Like this was one moment specifically in the third act. I was kind of like, you go, Michael Keaton, and I loved him in this film. The weaker ones of this film. Well, no, even before I go into the weaker ones, Taylor Kitsch, when he's on screen, like I was like, this dude need to be a superhero. Like flat out. Like I don't know if Marvel wants him, I don't know if DC wants him, but he should definitely be a superhero. And I'll say this about Dylan O'Brien. At first, I was wanting Aaron Taylor Johnson to be Nightwing, but watching this film, he has to be Nightwing. Especially like the chemistry he went back and forth with the original 1989 Batman. I was like, look, DC, this is your, Nightwing. Get him, you know what I'm saying? Like, even more so than Aaron Taylor Johnson. Like, I think that he can definitely carry it. I think he's got the physical prowess. I think he's got the acting ability with it. And I think that he's got the charisma. Like, I've seen other roles with him, and I think that he can just, act floors around a lot of the other competition that, would play that role. So I think that he definitely would have that. And Taylor Kitsch, again, I think that he does a really good job in this film. I don't want to spoil anything about it, but his character is really interesting. I wish they would have explored a little bit more with him. But for what they did, I think they did a good job. The one that I think that was kind of either one miscast or underused was Sanaa Lathan, unfortunately. In the very beginning, it was this very cliche. Like a lot of her delivery lines are kind of like they were like specifically made for a movie trailer. Like some of the deliveries were kind of like what are you talking about? And there are a lot of different moments in this film where there are some unrealistic things that happen. But this is based on an adaptation from a book. This isn't necessarily based off of true events. They take tactical, things and trainings and stuff like that, and I guess certain protocol of how they handle stuff. That it makes sense, But it's unfortunately like I feel like they should have gotten Viola Davis to be this character. Like I think that Sanaa Lathan, she does good towards the third act, and where I actually kind of see her character kind of coming out a little bit, but in the first two acts, it just didn't work for me personally. That was one of the negatives I had for the movie, unfortunately. Any other negatives that I could think of would be there's just certain moments it would just kind of seem like the edit was kind of like chopped from one section to another. There are definitely some cliche moments, but when the cliche moments do happen, they progress into something more because Dylan O'Brien's character, he has these moments where Mitch just kind of just like snaps. You know what I'm saying? And I think that when it starts getting a little too cliche or too unbelievable, like he acts it. He moves and progresses the story along with just how his character is evolving throughout the course of the entire movie. And I think that he's the real backbone of this film. And I think that from that standpoint, that's a win. I would watch him again as his character in another setting. And hopefully he probably gets it. Even with Michael Keaton, like I think that he did a really good job for what he was given. But as far as the story is concerned, like from the beginning platform, what happened to him and then him getting into the agency, him being trained, and then like Taylor Kitsch, character intersects with their situation. I think that it was really good. There was one moment where in the middle of the movie where something happens with Mitch or Dylan O'Brien's character and another character, this random conversation that kind of seems so cliche. I was just like, really? You really believe in this? And then all of a sudden, it just totally turns like left field. I was like, you'll know when you see it. Like bathwater, that's the only thing I can say. That'll be the only kind of tell that I can give you. But when it does happen, like that was when, all right, this totally worked. Like I was like, I'm glad that I got a sort of surprise. And there were a couple other surprises that happened. Everything else was kind of like really predictable where characters gonna go, where characters gonna die. Even Scott Adkins makes a cameo. Well, not a cameo. His character does kind of like play into the fold of this, kind of like what you would do like a John Bernthal for like the accountant in a way, but I don't know. I think he was definitely underused in this film. So generally for me, like I thought it was a really good time in the movies. Like I think I would rate it in between a 7.5 and an 8 out of 10. I give it a 7.5 just because I think that Sanaa Lathan, unfortunately, she was miscast. I think they should have got like Naomi Harris or either Viola Davis, and I think that would have kind of like added an extra edge where the acting could have platformed a lot of the things that were kind of happening that we've already naturally seen in other movies before. But in general, I think that American Assassin is actually a good time. I think that don't take it too seriously. Don't take some of the things and some of the wordings like, oh, wow, I've seen this before. Just try to enjoy the performance base by Dylan O'Brien and Michael Keaton and other people, you know, that were involved, and just see how they're going to do this as a new spy expert. I think that I would compare it to Mission Impossible. I think that as far as the fighting is concerned, it's not like as believable as like Atomic Blonde. But when they do show the choreography and they shoot that this definitely is rated R film, it definitely shows. And I think they take the good platform of making this something that I would want to see again. So hopefully you enjoyed this review. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Talk to you guys later. Peace.